APD officers facing criminal charges this morning, a first in the numerous officer-involved shootings in Albuquerque.
And a cyber attack on U.S. Central Command seems to echo recent attacks on the Albuquerque Journal. That's also coming up here at 6 a.m.
And this morning, we're tracking another winter storm. Snow flurries already falling in the metro. East Mountains also getting hit at this time. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Krista Gutierrez.
And I'm Adam Atchison. It's Tuesday, January 13th. Yeah, the roads are getting a little icy in some spots. Let's take a moment to check your forecast, get the latest on the storm, where it's headed right now with Kristen Curry. Kristen?
And good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we're continuing to watch these snow bands redevelop across northern and central New Mexico. You can see radar definitely blowing up those storms a little bit. The snow actually out across western portions of New Mexico. Now this is a rain snow mix just passing Gallup. This is why it's turning to ice. We are barely below that freezing point here in Albuquerque, and really we were warm yesterday, so roads not bad just yet, but we have more snow on the way. You can see all that snow down near Laguna, Los Lunas to the south and to the west. That will continue to make its way to the north and east. I know Sandia Mountains and Manzano Mountains also looking at some light snow at this hour. This snow will be on and off through the day today. The nice thing is temperatures will be above freezing this afternoon, so we'll see a good amount of melting. But just how much rain and snow will we see today? I'll break down those details coming up here in about 15 minutes.
And while you were sleeping, snow crept into the metro. This video shows snow flurries falling on the west side near 86th and Unser around 2 o'clock this morning. The good news for drivers didn't stick around yet. However, it could be changing soon. Ski resorts also seeing fresh new snow that started falling overnight as well. This is a shot of Taos Ski Resort. You can see a good amount of snow not only on the slopes, but also covering some tables there. Conditions remain perfect for those of you wanting to hit the slopes soon.
Let's turn to the latest conditions on the road throughout the state. This is nmroads.com, gives you a snapshot of where the trouble spots are. And I want to point out specifically just east of the Albuquerque area where we've had some new watches, warnings pop up here on I-40. Particularly right in the mile marker area of the Tijeras Canyon. It'd be 170 to 183 when we talk specific mile markers. Right now they're saying there are difficult driving conditions there. If you go a little bit further east, there's also a quick notice this morning updated about 4 a.m. that says the roads are icy in the McKenzie area. So be careful out there. They recommend road crews do as they get out and about, taking extra time and driving carefully. Our weather team is working to bring you the very latest on conditions as the storm makes its way into New Mexico. We'll bring you weather alerts on the air and at KRQE.com, mobile alerts.
After months of protest, national attention, federal investigations, 2 Albuquerque police officers who shot and killed James Boyd now face murder charges. Keith Sandy and Dominic Perez are the first APD officers ever to be charged with murder for an on-duty shooting. The 2 shot mentally ill camper James Boyd in March 2014 after an hours-long standoff in the foothills. The video shows Boyd was turning away. Yesterday, DA Carrie Brandenburg filed the charges.
An information was filed against Keith Sandy and Dominique Perez this morning, charging them with an open count of murder.
Now, the officer's attorneys say what you see on the video was anything but murder. We'll hear from them in the next half hour. The facts of the case will now be revealed in an upcoming preliminary hearing. In the meantime, Perez remains on desk duty. Sandy retired a few months ago. APD Chief Gordon Eden's reaction was a lot different than it was the week after the Boyd shooting last year.
Do you believe this was a justified shooting?
Do I believe it was a justified shooting? Yes.
Was Chief Eden during a press conference after Boyd's death. Yesterday, the top cop stayed away from the cameras, with APD sending out this statement. It says, this case is a matter of great concern to the community, the city of Albuquerque, the Albuquerque Police Department, and the involved officers, and that a preliminary hearing will permit the evidence to be presented in a transparent and public forum. Mayor R.J. Berry also refused to go on camera about the charges, only saying it's important to allow the process to progress without prejudice for the community to move forward.
The district attorney is responding to some who might suggest that these charges are in retaliation for APD revealing that she was investigated for allegedly trying to get her son out of a burglary charge. She suggests APD was retaliating against her because they knew in October she was leaning toward charging Sandy and Perez.
I'm going to give the public my best efforts, and I'm not going to be intimidated. You all can speculate all you want. I think the motivation is pretty transparent.
Brandenburg insists the accusations against her are completely false. APD and the mayor's office have repeatedly refused to answer questions about who decided to reveal back in November that Brandenburg was under investigation and why. In our next half hour, hear from the families of people killed by APD and their reaction to the charges. And stay with News 13 as we continue to follow this story and bring you the latest information from the beginning, both on air and online at KRQE.com.
Time now 6:05. They hit Albuquerque's local paper. Next, hackers claiming to support Islamic militants zeroed in on a much bigger target, the Pentagon. The group took control of the U.S. Central Command's Twitter and YouTube accounts, putting out the message, quote, "American soldiers, we are coming. Watch your back, ISIS." The hackers also tweeted lists with names and information about U.S. military personnel.
I can tell you this is something that we're obviously looking into and something that we take seriously.
The White House says no classified information was released. The same masked face showed up on the Albuquerque's Journal site last month. Then again last week on its Twitter account. Hackers tweeted a man's driver's license and claimed to have confidential data on citizens of Albuquerque. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu attended the funeral for 4 people killed in another terror attack in France. The 4 men were killed at a kosher market in Paris during a siege, with the suspects involved in the terror attacks at the Charlie Hebdo office. They will be buried in Jerusalem.
New and developing this morning, some major news in the downed Air Asia flight as divers recover the voice recorder from the cockpit. Indonesian officials say they found that recorder in the Java Sea near the same location where the flight data recorder was recovered the day before. That plane went down 2 weeks ago while traveling from Indonesia to Singapore, killing all 162 people on board. Investigators believe the voice and data recorders are the best hope of finding out why the plane crashed.
A second set of meetings in the search for the new superintendent for Albuquerque Public Schools is scheduled for today. Yesterday, APS held its first public meeting to identify the top qualities it's looking for in a superintendent. They're asking for public input, but the board will make the final decision. More meetings are scheduled, and you can make comments in an online survey. You can find that on our website, krqe.com. Click on links.
6:07 this morning, enrollment at UNM is dropping, and the university thinks that's because facilities are taking a dive as well. President Bob Frank says he has some ideas to upgrade, but it won't come cheaply. From the fall of 2013 to the fall of 2014, freshman enrollment has dropped roughly 10%. To find out why, the university's president took a trip to universities in Colorado and found some big differences. Frank says he realized that things like the pool and locker rooms need to be updated. He says getting the money to make any improvements can be tough to round up.
We're going to have to be very creative in how we would fund some things. We don't expect the state to step up and fund this for us.
Frank says he cannot put a price tag on all of the changes that he would like to make. He says we could be 2 to 3 years away from any big changes, but he's hoping to appeal to out-of-state students. 8% of the 24,000 undergrads here come from outside of New Mexico.
Now, real quick, we want to remind you that there are some school delays this morning. They are scrolling at the bottom of your screen. That includes 5 APS schools in the East Mountains. The scroll will continue through the break. For the first time, 2 Albuquerque police officers now facing charges for shooting and killing a man while in uniform. Now, families of those killed by APD react.
Rain and snow once again falling on the metro area and across the state as we wake up today with that delays and closures to talking about. We're staying on top of what you need to know. All of that scrolling on your screen.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Crystal Gutierrez.
I'm Adam Atchison. It's Tuesday, January 13th. As I did mention a moment ago, as we begin the day, there are closures and delays to report. They're running at the bottom of the screen. They're also updated on the website right now, krqe.com.
That includes some APS schools in the East Mountains. Kristen Curry is tracking the latest.
And good morning, guys. Yes, we're still looking at a little bit of some light snow pushing in from the south and west into the metro area. This is light snow, and it's having a real hard time sticking to the roads because of the recent warm temperatures we've had. We topped out in the mid-40s yesterday. We're looking at the same thing today. Now, you'll notice it's starting to get a little bit into that sleet rain mix down to the south up against the foothills, so we'll watch that as that will turn into ice. But really, this is what we're watching. West side, that band of snow moving towards your way. It will push over the metro area. Valley floor looking mostly at just flurries and rain, but this is only the start of a long day of those on and off showers. We're still waiting on that second storm storm to make it into New Mexico. The nice thing is those temperatures will be above freezing today, and by the time we hit Thursday, all of this will be gone. So a busy forecast heading into the next couple of days. I'll have more details and break down the timing of today's snow coming up here in about 15 minutes.
Kristen, thanks. As she's been reporting all week, this is just the beginning of the storm.
And all across the metro, we've already seen snow falling, snow flurries in some parts, snow in others. One area that gets hit hard all the time is the East Mountains. That's where we sent News 13's Catherine Nuzone. She took a live out there this morning to see how road conditions are out there. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, just a reminder once again, East Mountain schools are on a 2-hour delay. Now, when I got up to get to this live shot, I did notice a lot of snow on the car, as you probably will as you get up this morning. But as I drove through the metro, I didn't see much snow to speak of at all. At this point, it's just a light drizzle of rain. Obviously, the temperatures are warming up as the morning progresses, so not cold enough quite now to see that snow as we saw earlier this morning. However, as you drive east out of town, I'm at Cedillo Hill here, and I don't know if you can see behind me, there is snow on the ground around here, and the conditions did get a little bit tougher to maneuver as I headed east out of town. Obviously, the snow plows are out icing, or rather de-icing the streets, putting down some gravel and salt. That did make driving a lot easier, but obviously, you want to slow down. It is slick out there, not as slick in town, but the roads are wet. So you probably will see a little bit more traffic this morning. So be careful out there. Back to you.
All right, Catherine, thank you. Snow has been falling throughout the morning hours, pushing toward portions of the state in the metro area as well, where they got a quick dusting of snow. This video was shot just before news time on the west side near 86th and Unser. Now, let's turn to a little video of what it looked like outside our station near downtown. Light flurries falling there. Kristen's been tracking it as it sort of pushes across the metro area, talking about it heading toward the East Mountains. We'll be tracking it throughout the course of the morning.
Yeah, that round of winter weather moving into other parts of the state this morning. Ruidoso already hit hard by the cold and the winter storm. The streets there lined in slush this morning. Sidewalks already covered in snow.
Snow and some places icy conditions is making for difficult driving this early hour. I just checked nmroads.com. Some areas of the state dealing with snow-packed and icy roads, including just east of Albuquerque. And that might be the biggest trouble spot to mention right now. Updated at around 5:30 a.m., so about an hour ago. Roads throughout the Tierras Canyon area, I-40 mile marker 170 to 183 are snow-packed and icy in spots. A little further east as you go toward the McKinsey area, the roads are said to be icy there. I-40, that was updated at about 4 this morning. So just know that no matter where you're going, they're cautioning you, crews are, that you'll want to take it slow, reduce your speed. They're out salting and cindering those roads to prepare for your vehicle.
And remember, you can help us tell the weather story throughout New Mexico as you begin your day. If you take any photos of any type of weather, snow, rain happening in your area, send the pictures to us at reportit@krqe.com.
And you'll want to stay with KRQE News 13 all day long. We're staying ahead of the storm. Get weather alerts on air and online, including mobile alerts. KRQE.com.
Our other top story this morning, 2 men sworn to enforce the law are now waking up this morning facing criminal charges. A first for Albuquerque, this after DA Carrie Brandenburg filed murder charges against the APD officers who shot and killed homeless camper James Boyd. Brandenburg yesterday would not go into specifics as to why Officer Dominic Perez and Keith Sandy should be charged, but did say the Boyd shooting is different from all of the others APD has been involved in.
What makes this case criminal, or some of the facts that will come out at the prelim, I don't want to get into the facts. I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize the integrity of this case.
Now, back in March in 2014, both Sandy and Perez shot and killed Boyd as he turned his back towards them during an hours-long standoff. Boyd had been illegally camping in the foothills and had 2 small knives in his hands. The shooting sparked citywide protest. Now all of the facts of the case will be revealed in an upcoming preliminary hearing. If there is enough evidence to take Sandy and Perez to trial, both men will then be arrested and booked in jail.
Attorneys for Sandy and Perez are ready to fight for the officer's innocence. Luis Robles, who's representing Dominic Perez, sent News 13 a statement saying, quote, "This is truly a shame. Throughout his career, Officer Perez has been called upon to make life-altering decisions while protecting Albuquerque citizens and his fellow officers. And having made one of those decisions," he goes on to say, "Officer Perez now faces an open count of murder. Regardless, I'm confident that the facts will vindicate Officer Perez's actions in this case. Meanwhile, Sandy's attorney, Sam Bregman, says his client shot Boyd because he was trying to protect a fellow officer's life.
He took a step with these two knives towards that APD dog handler. Keith was protecting an officer in the line of duty and did absolutely nothing criminal.
Bregman says he's not being paid by the city to defend Sandy. However, the Albuquerque Police Union confirms to us that it would contribute money to some or all of the defense costs for Sandy and Perez. And this will be different than the cases in Ferguson, Missouri, and most recently in New York. That's because the DA will present the charges during a preliminary hearing instead of a grand jury. Here are some facts on that prelim hearing. It allows for the evidence to be presented in open court, attended by the public. It also allows the officers and their attorneys to challenge the charges. Those are things that aren't allowed during a grand jury. In the preliminary hearing, a judge will decide if it eventually goes to trial.
And families of those killed by APD are welcoming the news of the DA's decision to charge the officers in the Boyd case.
I feel like it's a step in the right direction, but we have a lot more steps to go.
Ken Ellis II and Steve and Renata Torres say yesterday's announcement is great news for them. Ellis's son Ken was gunned down outside a 7-Eleven 5 years ago as he held a gun to his own head. Christopher Torres was shot and killed in the family's backyard in 2011. Like all prior APD shootings, Brandenburg did not move forward with charges in either case, but the Torres family says there's one key difference this time.
Unlike, I think, all of the shootings that the district attorney has previously ruled justified, the Boyd shooting, it was such a blatant act caught on video.
As for the Boyd family, they spoke through their attorneys saying they are relieved to hear there are charges in this case. They're already suing APD and the city. The story has already spread across the nation, from the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and the New York Times to major news networks. The headlines are all about the charges against Officers Sandy and Perez. And stay with News 13 as we continue to follow this story and bring you the latest information from the beginning. We are committed to bring you all of the developments as they unfold throughout the day, of course, on air and online at KRQE.com.